The hosts of bracketology are experts in nothing. They claim no advanced knowledge or profound insights. Instead, they are just three judgmental idiots who really like to bloviate their own opinions whenever given the chance. Take what they have to say with a grain of salt, or not at all. You'll probably be better off that way.
We've spent the last few weeks critiquing pro wrestlers, some of the greatest of all time pro wrestlers. But we, I think, don't really have, obviously, our own experience in the ring, I'd say. And I think there's some key components to like what it means to be a successful professional or wrestler that everyone has to take into consideration. You know, we discussed last week, for example, finishing move. So this week I bring to you the question: if you were a pro wrestler, what would your intro music be?
I've spent a lot of time thinking about this.
I'm going to give you, let's do this because we a little bit of thought here because it sounds like you've thought about it already. 3 different intro musics. You're going to go through 3 phases in your pro wrestling career. What are your 3 different sets of intro music?
It's now, are you saying an actual, like, name a song? Because that might be difficult.
It doesn't have to be a specific song, but give me like a general vibe, maybe like an artist type that we could work within. Something for the audience to imagine with there.
Oh. Yeah, so I think definitely to start and then probably to end my career would be some kind of metal, right? Some type of like, maybe not like crazy music, but just something hard, something like Rhea Ripley's music, right? With Motionless in White or something else that is kind of like
You're
new
saying
agey.
Senses Fail without saying Senses Fail.
Basically, yeah. It would be a Senses Fail song.
So 2 different songs, both Senses Fail-esque, one at the beginning, one at the end?
Yeah.
What's in the middle? What makes up the center of this Oreo?
So I think the center is more of a...
What's your cream?
Well, some similar like vibes, but slower, right? Where you have that kind of more serious tone to the song as opposed to like the crazy antics.
So what's the difference in character type for that slower, more methodical?
I think this has to be sometime after I turned on a friend or they turned on me, right? Like
Okay.
it would definitely be like the heel run, but it would be like the sad, depressed emo boys heel run.
So there's like a kind of like a maybe like a tag team era to start, and then like a division.
That's a good. That's probably a good way of looking at it. Yeah, a betrayal of some kind, followed by just doing my own thing, and then getting back on track with what is me. So basically, yeah, my life in a lot of ways.
Interesting how that worked out.
Huh.
Okay. All right, Dan, what do you think?
So I think at the beginning of my career, my character is going to be a little
Benny Hill theme. Yeah,
it's going to be punk rock aesthetic. That's what I'm going to go for.
but with a banjo.
No, not with a banjo. It's just going to be punk rock. But the first iteration is going to be a lighter version. So I'm thinking of like the impression that I get by
Mighty Boss Stones.
Yep, Mighty Boss Stones.
Okay, so you bring some ska vibes. Hard to pull off.
Yeah, but I think I could do it. And then things get a little bit more serious as I start to get more angry.
Gangster rap.
And I'm acting out. So then I'm thinking like shipping up to Boston. Mighty Boss, or not Mighty
I'm
Boss.
like,
Dropkick Murphys. Getting a little angrier, a little edgier. And then I'm probably going to end
Funeral Procession.
No, I'm probably going to end with, something like I don't know.
Alan Jackson.
Maybe The Offspring or Bad Religion, like something in that vein.
Something aged.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So do you see your character as pretty consistent throughout your career, and you just get older, so you just pick older music? Is that?
No, I just get angrier as I get older.
Same thing.
I start yelling at the kids to get off my ring, You
got to think about it. We're only a good 20 to 40 years from becoming Republicans ourselves. It's just the growth of a trajectory of being an angry white man.
Mainly
that's
angry
gross.
at
I'll never do that.
know. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It just comes full circle. Okay. I think I'm starting my career with something in the cocky hip hop range. But cocky white guy hip hop, if we're being honest, like a Macklemore type something another. Specifically,
so John Cena.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Specifically, I'm thinking of you guys are going to be too old to get this reference, but Nick D, Connor Price, like those guys. I'm trying to appeal to a younger audience here. Nick D, Connor Price, those guys, that's probably my starting music.
I feel like you should have a target that's less young that you're trying to appeal to.
I'm just saying that they are TikTok artists, and I know you guys are too old to know anything about. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then I think I'm gonna keep it I'm gonna stay in that upbeat vein because I like that bringing that kind of energy. If I go super face, then I'm bringing in a Fits in the Tantrums or a Lawrence type song. I'm going real high energy. And then I want to end my career the most hated. I want to have the heeliest heel turn possible.
You just shove a trombone up somebody's ass?
Yeah, pretty much. And then switch the music to full on dark, My Chemical Romance turned up to 11 type energy, I think.
I think we've got plans here. It's not too late to start our careers, except for...
It is 100% too late for me.
We have whole character arcs just written out in music, in playlists.
I mean, we could be the creative team for another wrestler to, have for their career, but...
I think... So, I'm sure I've talked about this before, but, did you all at any point do, backyard type wrestling?
Oh, yeah. On trampolines. Yeah. I have put friends in the torture rack, figure 4, scorpion deathlock. I've hit people with the stunner.
Dude, I've jumped off of roofs onto the trampoline doing a swanton. You know what I mean? I was a much different person as a younger child. Now I don't want to go down a step that's too tall.
Yeah.
Pull something. Hello and welcome back to Bracketology, the podcast that definitively decides all things tournament bracket style. I'm just a sexy boy. Scott Grubb.
I know that I'm going to be disappointed this episode, Matt Robison.
And I am the most electrifying name in podcast, Dan Default.
I'm sitting
I
here
wish
looking...
that was true. I legitimately wish that was true.
I would love to ride those coattails. Let me tell you what.
Yeah.
Take us to the moon, Dan. I'm happy to be the number 2. Anyway, because I'm the shit. I'm looking forward to our electrifying 8, the 4 matchups that we've got to talk about today. And I'm thinking, why is Matt going to be? And then I see it. Do we want to just kick it off? How do we feel? Do you want to be disappointed? Do we want to carry that angry energy through the whole episode, or do we want to save it for the coup de grace at the end?
Just do
I
it
think
now.
either
Just do
way,
it now.
It's going to carry through the whole episode. If we save it for the last match or we do it up front, he's going to be pissy the entire time.
All right, so let's see. So we're making an assumption here. Dan, do you know what matchup Matt's alluding to?
Yeah, I think
okay.
he
Hold on.
Oh.
It was a yes or no question.
Okay.
Do you want to say it at the same time? See if we're thinking the same thing?
Sure.
All right, on 3. 1, 2, 3. John Cena versus Randy Orton.
Yeah, 100%. He hates John Cena.
Do we just want to go ahead and get to a vote?
Yeah.
Again, go ahead, Matt. Go ahead.
You can't say that Randy Orton isn't just as good, if not better, than John Cena. He is a better in-ring competitor. He may not be as good on the microphone, but he's not a bad, he doesn't have bad mic chops. Randy Orton is a fucking beast in professional wrestling, and I think that you both are about to shit on him, and I'm much more afraid of him than I am John Cena.
I am not here to shit on him in any way, shape, or form because he's fucking terrifying. He absolutely is one of the greatest. He is. But the thing is, looking at the rest of the matchups we have tonight to talk about, is he on the Mount Rushmore? Mount Rushmore's only got, 4 faces on it? I don't know if he's going to be one of them. Because there's some bigger faces in front of him, and I tell you what, John Cena's is one of them. Here we go back to this question that we asked, I think, in the first round. If these two guys are both going into the Hall of Fame at the same time in 2030, which one of the two of them, first off, they would never do that. They would never put them both in the Hall of Fame at the same time because inarguably they are both headliners. Absolutely. Yep. There's no denying that. And again, I'm not taking anything away from Randy Orton. However, if Triple H got real high one night and made a terrible decision to put them both in the Hall of Fame at the same year, which one of them would headline? And it would, you cannot deny it would 100% be John Cena. He elevated the business more than anyone else, arguably, on at least this side of the bracket. He has elevated the business more than many. I don't know that it's hard to say who's done more, but he's definitely done more than Randy Orton.
Here's the thing, though, is that yes, maybe John Cena would headline that Hall of Fame, right? But Randy Orton would RKO him on the stage and steal the spotlight. That is, because here's the thing. Yes, John Cena did help elevate and carried the WWE on his back for a very long period of time, but it was in a period of time in which the PG era was a thing, and wrestlers had a hard time adjusting to what is a family-friendly WWE as opposed to it being a true professional wrestling sporting event. Randy Orton continued to have that same level of intensity, and I think the only reason that John Cena had more championships than Randy Orton is because Randy Orton got hurt a few times, and they were long-term injuries that took a long time to rehab and to come back from. I think that Randy Orton is the better wrestler. He is the better champion, because when he is a champion, he is a heel champion. And that's a much tougher mountain to conquer for a face than a face champion. That is just my thoughts. And my vote goes to Randy Orton.
I think that Randy Orton is every pro wrestler's favorite pro wrestler. I think John Cena is every kid's favorite pro wrestler. I think John Cena has done over 400 Make-A-Wishes and holds the record. I think John Cena transitioned into movies and television. I think John Cena is a household name, both in the United States and in the UK. Worldwide, John Cena is a household name, period. Again, Randy Orton is great. He's amazing. Definitely a headliner for Hall of Fame. Definitely guaranteed Hall of Fame. Should be the one to retire John Cena. But it's John Cena.
Yeah. It's 100% John Cena. And this is coming from somebody that really did not like John Cena's character, especially when he first came out. I could not stand John Cena.
I actually respected his first character way more than his fucking current one.
You cannot take away from what John Cena has done to that industry and for that industry. And like Scott alluded to, the amount of Make-A-Wish foundations and the actual good person he is outside of the ring and the efforts that he makes.
Yeah, he has one good thing, which is his number of Make-A-Wish Foundation. Like, he holds a record there. But like, if you talk to his ex-wife, if you watch any of the videos from his, like, he had some shitty things about him. And I say shitty, but really they're just
Normal,
idiosyncrasies and
human stuff.
I feel like there are two John Cenas. I fully believe there's the John Cena that everyone sees, and he's on and in character a lot. Like 90% of his life, he is on and in character. And then there's the other John Cena who, to his credit, is the primary contributing factor for who he is and how he got to where he is. But that person is difficult and particular and anal retentive and OCD and again, probably the leading contributor of how he got to where he is, but like, as a difficult person. Either way, he's still the legendariest over Randy Orton.
Finish your thought, Dan.
No, that was it.
Okay.
No.
Look, I'm not saying John Cena was bad for business. I'm not even saying that he wasn't good and still is good at what he does. He's just not as good as Randy Orton, in my opinion. But anyway, that is one of the matchups that I was expecting to be disappointed in.
Oh, there's more than one.
I think he also is probably expecting to be disappointed as I look at this.
Chris Jericho versus The Rock.
Oh, I was going to say Triple H versus Shawn Michaels. Are you just expecting to be disappointed with all of them, Matt? Is that the energy you're bringing today?
Where is the Joyce Byers on this bracket for you?
Where would y'all like to go next?
Let's go Chris Jericho versus The Rock.
Okay.
We both switched there. You were going to say Triple H and Shawn Michaels, weren't you? Let's go Chris Jericho and The Rock, because I said it first and louder.
So here's the thing. The Rock is...
Yes, you're done. Correct.
The phenom of the sports entertainment transition. Like, The Rock is what led Vince McMahon to adjusting from being just about sports, or at least a big part of it, to being about sports entertainment and focusing on a lot of the... a lot more mic work, a lot more storyline driven matches, a lot more weird comedic effects. Like, The Rock was a big part to that. And he definitely had an impact on the professional wrestling landscape. Like, he absolutely did. Chris Jericho also has had a very similar, if not greater, impact on the wrestling landscape, because that's all he's been doing for 40 years. Whereas The Rock has been part-time for 20 of the last 40 years. Like, it's like when he went to Hollywood, and I'm not saying that he shouldn't have, he absolutely should have written his name to getting billions of dollars. Like, The Rock is a billionaire now because of that, right? And his ability to sell tequila and his ability to, headline movies that he has no business being a part of is because of his name. And he's done a great job from a business perspective. Chris Jericho has a successful, ridiculously historic professional wrestling career at the exact same time that he was the lead singer for a fucking band doing world tours.
So I was
wait,
this
but why
is the one he's going to be disappointed on.
Why is it a positive for Chris Jericho to go off and have other ventures, but it's a negative if The Rock does the same?
Because it's different, first of all, because Chris Jericho is doing it at the same time as his wrestling career. It's not like he puts it on hold for a year.
Okay, The Rock did too. When he did the rundown, when he did, what was the other one? Walking Tall. He was still a pro wrestler at those times. The difference is The Rock was successful at being a movie star, and Fozzy is playing the fucking little 1,000 person gymnasium here in Colorado Springs in a couple weeks. That's the difference. Yeah. The difference is The Rock's impact propelled him, whereas Chris Jericho's band
is a side gig.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you honestly sit there and tell me that if Fozzy was actually really good and took off and required a full dedicated worldwide tour, that Chris Jericho wouldn't easily make that decision to go do something that is much safer, much easier.
But he does that. He tours all the time. Like, I'm not saying that he's the fucking Rolling Stones, that Fozzy is the biggest thing in pop culture. But the man's song, Judas, that he uses for his theme song in today's era while he's with AEW, gets sang by 20 to 60,000 people in every arena that he comes out at, because it's a good song. And he does tour at the same time that he wrestles. Same way that he creates a cruise, and he does that and lets them film. Like, the thing about Chris Jericho, though, and again, I'll go back to this, I think it is very, very important. Chris Jericho provides a step for others to prop up and for them to elevate their own characters and for them to get bigger and to become household names, right? Like, let's be real. I know that we're not saying his name, but the one guy that Chris Jericho had a huge rivalry with, where prior to he wasn't that big of a deal, and after the fact was a world champion, was Chris Benoit. Chris Benoit had a ceiling, and until he was really doing his feuds with Chris Jericho in WWE, he wasn't breaking past that ceiling. But after that fact, Chris Benoit became a household name. Same thing could be said with The Rock. He had a ton of really good feuds with The Rock, with Stone Cold, with Triple H. Some of the most memorable things about Chris Jericho's career in WWE were his feuds with Triple H and Stephanie McMahon.
Look, I disagree with you wholeheartedly about Chris Benoit not being a household name before WWE, because he was a household name in WCW. Some would say he was killing it over there.
Oh, worst.
But we can't honestly be sitting here having this conversation about Chris Jericho versus The Rock. This is not a close decision. I understand how we got here, how Chris Jericho beat out the people that he beat out, and it makes sense. But it's The Rock. He is the most electrifying name in sports entertainment. He was the only person that could have stepped up and gone over Stone Cold Steve Austin at that time. I want you to think back in those times, in the Attitude Age, when it was really, really good, Stone Cold was at the very top. He was at his pinnacle, and he seemed untouchable. And the only person that could do that could take that championship away from him, was The Rock. And that's because they were both two of the biggest icons in professional wrestling. I still can't believe you put Triple H over Stone Cold, but you can't make that same bad decision twice. The Rock is heads and shoulders above Chris Jericho. Not just in height, because he is also much taller than Chris Jericho, but in legendary status.
Yeah, Matt. I mean, I can smell what you're cooking. I think it's fair to say The Rock doesn't care what you think about his loyalty to wrestling. He did move on to wrestling, or to movies. Mm-hmm. And I do think that, like, when Chris Jericho does finally come back to WWE, that it will be an electrifying moment. But it's The Rock. Like, even with what your point, you hold this grudge that I think a lot of wrestling fans hold against him and John Cena for leaving the business for movies. And again, has Chris Jericho done both at the same time? Sure, he absolutely has. Fozzy's number one listened to song is Judas on Spotify, 79 million listens. Yeah, 20 to 30 or 20 to 60,000 people sing it every week. They know that song because Chris Jericho, the pro wrestler, elevated it. Mm-hmm. Whereas Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson has a song on Spotify, 643 million listens, almost 10 times what Judas has. And I'm going to say a lot of those listens probably from an audience that doesn't really know who Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is at this point. But you know what? Their parents do, and their parents know him as the most electrifying man in WWE. Chris Jericho, again, if you're talking about like Mount Rushmore of heels or for mic work or whatever, Chris Jericho is certainly part of that conversation, but he's not Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. It's The Rock.
Yeah.
Hard disagree with both of you. My vote's going to go to Chris Jericho. So in protest, The Rock will move on.
It's not in protest when only one of us is disagreeing.
You can protest it.
It's very much in protest as the one
Rock
who edits
kicked his
and
Rudy
controls
candy ass.
Controls this screen entirely. You know what? Fuck you guys. You're both disqualified.
See,
Low blows.
This was
Chris
the
Jericho
Joyce
moves
Byers of this bracket.
Yeah.
Called it.
What's our next matchup?
Who's going to face The Rock in the next round? Let's go Ric Flair versus Undertaker.
I can still edit all of this for you to say Chris Jericho. That is an option.
So, again, as much as I want to say that this is a tougher match, I don't think it is.
Sorry, what match did we go to?
Ric Flair and Undertaker. For some reason, we're going clockwise around the bracket this time. We've never done it before, but here we go.
Look, Undertaker is the phenom. He was the consummate professional. But so was Ric Flair. Man, Ric Flair was always there. And when it comes to stage presence, Undertaker never really had it, right? He needed Paul Bearer in his early years to...
So I'm going to stop you real quick because here's the thing.
I think Matt and I both pulled something in our neck looking at you like confused dogs. Like, what do you mean? Okay,
the Undertaker has the strongest stage presence of anybody on this list. Like, just his appearance alone is enough to get people is enough to get people to weep. And that's not true. The thing is the reason the Undertaker got put with Paul Bearer is because of his size. Like, if you go back and watch anything about The Undertaker's career, especially early on, when he came into WWE, he was a 6'7", 300+ pound man who could high fly off the top of the ropes, and that wasn't allowed. Like, it was, if you're that size, if you're a giant in professional wrestling, you have to be the intimidating, quiet, like, you just walk up and you just punch somebody in the face and they go flying. It was a decision by management and by creative, specifically Vince McMahon. We're not going to, you have to fit in this box. And
all right. So a couple of things to refute your points there. Andre the Giant, who is the quintessential giant, definitely had mic skills and definitely did not need somebody like Paul Bearer. He was 100% himself all the time.
That was a different era.
It was a wildly different era. And as much as I love Andre the Giant and I respect his situations, he didn't really have that good of mic skills. I mean it in the nicest way possible.
He still didn't need, again, the Undertaker on the mic was not that good in any point in his career.
I disagree with you, man. American Badass Undertaker was something else because he got to just be who the fuck he was. Like, he didn't have to be the dead man the whole time. He could be the motorcycle riding, let me piss in your Wheaties kind of guy. And he did it well for those few years.
That was his worst shtick too.
The shtick wasn't great, but his ability on the mic and his ability to bring back old stuff like Old School, that came from his time where he grabs him by the wrist, twists it, walks on the top rope, and jumps off. Like, that's something Vince McMahon would not let him do, those kinds of things, for a long time. Because as a big man, you just got to be a big man. There's no diving over the top rope, right? And it probably saved him a lot of pain, especially later in his life, but he would have been just fine without Paul Bearer. I'm just going to say that. He would have been not just fine, almost exactly the same, if not better.
So let's just assume that what you're saying is true. I have contentions against some of the things that you're saying, but assuming that is true, look at the career of Ric Flair. I mean, the Four Horsemen, all of the iconic matches that he has had. Nobody makes nobody was a better heel than Ric Flair. Because it's Ric fucking Flair.
Sure. The problem that Ric Flair has is longevity doesn't always equal positivity. So even though he did have a ridiculously long career, an unnecessarily long career, a lot might say, if he would have ended his career after Evolution, absolutely, would be one of the greatest of all times, but he didn't.
So is this a die hero, live long enough to
become the villain?
To become a villain situation for Ric Flair, you think?
I do think that that's the case. Again, he has the record currently, or tied for the record, for most world championships in WWE history with another unnamed person on this list.
Who's going to beat that record?
I know. Anyway, he was, in my opinion, Ric Flair, very much a one-show pony. Like he has one thing, and he'll go out and he'll do that match 8 billion times, but it'll be the exact same match every time. It's the exact same moveset, the exact same order of events, the exact same flops, the exact same bumps that he takes. I'm not saying he's bad. I think Ric Flair is amazing. I think that especially in his heyday, he was tremendous. But I don't think he stacks up to The Undertaker and what The Undertaker did from a consistency perspective for the WWE. Because he was there for 20 plus years doing the same thing in and out. There again were times where he left because of injury or because of something else. But man, when The Undertaker was there, he stole the show.
This is really just you being more of a fan of WWF than WCW, because
I've not hidden in any way that I watched WWE and I didn't watch WCW.
But you are missing out on all of his big moments by eliminating the WCW.
It's not that I don't know about those moments, right? They just don't hold the same nostalgia for me.
But this isn't based on nostalgia. This is based on their careers.
Everything that I do in my life is based on nostalgia. All right. Now, I think they both have phenomenal careers. The difference is that from the age of 50 to 90 that Ric Flair is in, he has used that time to continuously and consistently push himself. Whereas The Undertaker, from the age of 40 or younger to today, he's used that time to elevate others. And I think that there's a lot more weight in that, especially in the professional wrestling industry.
But what are the factors that have led to that, really? Like, we all know, Ric Flair has made some questionable financial decisions. I mean, is some of what you're talking about just basically out of necessity for him? Whereas, Undertaker might have been able to learn from some of those mistakes and has got himself a better positioned. Still, working, hosting podcasts, and I think he's got a beer or a whiskey or something. I don't know.
He's got a whiskey he took to Stone Cold. I remember watching.
There you go. But, I mean, this kind of, I feel like, goes back to what we talked about with Steve Austin versus Triple H in our last episode, that Ric Flair hit a peak and a pinnacle that very few other people ever reach. He was 100% a household name in the 80s. He is who your grandmother thought of when your parents were conceived. I mean, well, not you, Dan. Yours would have been much older, but for a lot of us, like that's a reality. He was the man. And I think when you look at the totality of this bracket, a lot of people learned what it meant to like have your own kind of style and profile and to take your character and own it the way that from Ric Flair. Many of the people on this match will say, or on this bracket would say that they idolized Ric Flair as a kid. I think that he does benefit from the time frame that he competed in and when he was at the peak, because there wasn't as much competition. There weren't as many TV channels. There wasn't as much entertainment out there. So Ric Flair was one of the few things to watch versus The Undertaker when he was at his peak. But I mean, Undertaker is vastly known and he elevated the business, and he is a pop culture icon, but not to the level of Ric Flair. I just, And I think that way that he has transcended the business and that he has just this, again, aura of legend around him, I puts him over the Undertaker to me.
I think that you're both full of shit. And I think that it's important for us to recognize if all we're doing in these brackets is just picking the most popular person, then what's the point of the bracket? You know what I mean?
We're not picking the most popular. We're picking the most legendary. And Ric Flair is more legendary.
I disagree. The Undertaker has had numerous matches created for him or because of him. Like, he has changed the industry that is wrestling, that is professional wrestling. Ric Flair didn't do that. Yes, he was elevated as an individual, right? Styling, profiling, all the bullshit. The Four Horsemen, very important for history of wrestling, but let's be honest with ourselves. Ric Flair is for Ric Flair. The Undertaker is for the industry of professional wrestling, and I just think that that's the case. Either way, I lose, and this is the third time I'm disappointed in this fucking episode. Piece of shit.
Wrong spot. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of want you to start off the next one just so I can oppose it and just have a whole clean sweep here for us. Wow. All right. Last matchup then. Triple H versus Shawn Michaels. Matt looks so mad. If you're not watching on YouTube, you should.
So here's the thing. Like, I have been able to predict where Matt would choose in each of these matches. This one, I don't know. I don't know if he's gonna glizzy on Triple H or Shawn Michaels.
I can tell you that I swear to you, I'm not picking my vote based on where I think Matt will pick, but I am afraid we're going to be on opposing sides here again. To me, and I kind of maybe have made this clear last week, I don't think that this one is much of a matchup, if we're being honest.
I don't want to agree because I know that you think Triple H is the more legendary.
Yeah, for sure. 100%.
But it's the fucking Heartbreak Kid, dude.
I mean, I get that. I loved HBK as a kid, but he's one of my whenever I got like a wrestling video game in the last 2 decades, like he was one of the first ones I always wanted to play as, for sure. But it's Triple H. I mean, his story arcs were more compelling, more impactful, more if you think DX, he was the leader. Shawn Michaels was like, you know how like in cartoons there's always like the big dog and then there's the little yappy dog that's like always backing the big dog up, you know? Like that was Triple H and Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels was the little yappy dog that was like excited bouncing around the ring and talking up the big dog. Triple H is the big dog.
That's a literal skit that they did in the ring one time.
Was it really?
100%.
Well, there we go. My point proven, I guess. Shame I don't remember that.
So somebody put together a montage of Shawn Michaels doing the Sweet Chin music and then collapsing down on top of the person that he's wrestling for the pin, for the 3 count. And it's amazing. When you watch to see like all the people that he has beat like that, it's wild. I love Shawn Michaels, but yeah, because you guys didn't put Sting ahead, I think Sting would have been a better matchup against Triple H. But I think Triple H has done more for the business. He's done it longer.
So first of all, I said this in last week's episode. Shawn Michaels made the super kick the super kick. Like the Sweet Chin music it elevated what is essentially just a kick to the face where you slap your thigh. And now every professional wrestler has a super kick in their repertoire. Like, it is of one kind or another. It has become a staple. This is the only time in this episode that you two have not disappointed me, because Triple H is clearly the superior wrestler. I disagree with you on one thing, which is that Shawn Michaels was the leader of D-Generation X for the first run. And then when X-Pac and Road Dogg and Billy Gunn came into that and Shawn Michaels disappeared for a long time due to injuries and other things, Triple H really took the helm and never gave it back. So that when Shawn Michaels came back, he did end up playing second fiddle to Triple H.
It's because Triple H did it better.
And he did. He elevated that. He elevated what was D-Generation X. And to shit on Dan's WCW days, it was Triple H's idea to go storm Monday Night Nitro. It was Triple H's idea to have the stupid tank and the megaphone. Like, that was all a brainchild of Triple H. It was his idea to do the Stephanie McMahon storyline, right? And stealing her to get married, and then them hating each other, and then her turning on her dad. And like, the number of storylines that Triple H had that were headliners, not just for WrestleMania, but for every pay-per-view, it's unmatched in my opinion. And Triple H, to this day, still has the biggest impact on professional wrestling that we've seen in the last century.
Yeah, he's continuing to share that genius.
So Triple H absolutely deserves to move on this one.
See, we ended on a happy note for you.
Yeah, look at that.
Bring it back around.
Hey.
We just reached around. We're all
fuck
good.
Both of you. The Undertaker, I'm going back to this. Hold on.
You're welcome for your happy ending.
No,
Matt.
I'm gonna happy ending all over your goddamn pillow if you don't shut up.
Ric Flair might have done that with your grandma.
Yeah.
Undertaker is a bigger name. He is a bigger draw.
No, he's not.
Than Ric Flair.
No way.
Chris Jericho is a better wrestler than The Rock. And Randy Orton is way better, and if it wasn't for injuries, would have been a bigger name than John Cena. Fuck you both on all of those matchups, but Triple H did move on, and that is the winner.
But you want to... You're focusing so singularity on... You got to look at the entire character and the entire impact. Chris Jericho better on the mic? First off, that's arguable anyway.
Look, those are the two best mic skill professional wrestlers of all time, in my opinion, are Chris Jericho and The Rock.
Jericho and The Rock?
If that was true...
Oh my God. You are so wrong.
If that were true, this is the first time we've ever gone back to re-argue one. If that were true, then Chris Jericho would have been the bigger name and the more popular person in the end. You're saying that Chris Jericho is a better wrestler. I'm not going to argue on that. The Rock didn't need to be the better wrestler because he was far superior than anyone else, Chris Jericho included, on the microphone. They named a whole show after him. The only person to have close to the same impact is when John Cena showed up on his day one and said ruthless aggression, and then the whole era was named after that.
And it wasn't like The Rock wasn't just good on the mic. Everything he did, like going up to the corner of the ring, raising the eyebrow and looking around, like everything he did was electrifying. Chris Jericho didn't have an ounce of that.
You both eat fucking unfrosted Wheaties, and I hate you because Chris Jericho, if you would have been watching when Y2J debuted...
I was watching when Y2J
Don't
debuted.
agree. I disagree. I don't think you knew what a television was at that point in 1999. But Chris Jericho, like just the arms out, like that is, and he got people excited, and man, he was a heartthrob for a lot of women. And don't get me wrong. Look, I'm not trying to take away from The Rock. All I'm saying is the motherfucker took his ball and went home, and it's annoying. Yes. However, the fact that he constantly comes back and then demands the show, that takes away and retracts from his legacy, in my opinion.
Chris Jericho was a heartthrob for a lot of ladies. The Rock was people's sexiest man alive in 2016.
Yeah, and
after he was done wrestling, mainly making movies.
So what?
I will give Chris Jericho this. He is a better wrestler than he is a musician.
in terms of great musicians, Chris Jericho is a wonderful pro wrestler.
Chris Jericho, if you're listening, and we know that you are,
thank you.
I apologize for both of these fuckwads and what they stand for in professional wrestling. I know. You're my guy.
Oh shit, Dan, we might have made the list.
In that particular matchup, you're my guy. Either way, that gets us down to our fatal 4. Even if 3 of them are wrong. We'll see what happens when revisionist history bracketology comes out and we go a different route.
Next week, we will have 3 whole matchups to debate through. I'm so excited to see how angry we can get Matt. And then we'll determine an overall winner. And I feel like Matt, I can feel Matt right now in his head thinking, I already know who it's going to be. See, yeah, he agrees. So yeah, next week, join us for that. In the meantime, thanks to Aaron O'Donnell thanks to Aaron O'Donnell from Aaron O'Donnell Music on YouTube for the music here at the beginning and end of every episode. Thanks to all of our alienated audience who's listened in for these last few weeks, having no idea what the fuck we're talking about most of the time.
Again, if you agree with me, get in the comments at these fuckers.
Please. He needs it. He clearly needs you to get in the comments and let him know. He needs your support. Someone out there agrees with his bad opinions.
Now more than ever. It's just going to be one comment from Fozzie.
Thanks for the support, Matt.
First of all,
followed by a mediocre song. It's just going to be...
Have you ever listened to Judas, Dan? You should. It is a great song.
I mean, so one okay song and a whole bunch of not great.
You're an asshole.
Join us next week to hear more of this. I'm just a sexy boy, Scott Grubb.
I'm still going to be disappointed next week, Matt.
And I'm still the most electrifying name in podcast.
And he still almost got that right. Bye-bye.